As long as you can. Okay, sorry, I'm getting this confused as well. I'm talking to the computer now.
And ask them to raise their hands on Adobe if they can hear you.
And raise your hands on Adobe if you can hear me. Doug, you have raised your hand. West Virginia, Chase, Carolyn, Jade White from West Virginia. Okay, perfect. Thank you guys. We will figure this out together. So now that I'm actually recording, again, the purpose of this is just to look at the family meals that are happening from a more qualitative perspective, and it's going to be used for my research. And I, again, thank you guys so much for doing the training and being willing to do the note taking. We'll go over a few things about how you guys should set up, getting started. We'll do a couple of practice note taking where I walk you through it. Then you'll practice on your own, and then you'll watch a video to practice by yourself to do the note taking. It's just to make sure everyone is taking similar notes. So setting up, the best setup would at your sites, if you can, be in a U shape, just so that you that will help facilitate the discussion in general. If that's not possible for your site, that's okay. You know, we can work with whatever you do. It's just best for discussion purposes if you can do it in that way. And I'm going to exit out of everyone who has their hand raised. Sorry, in case you guys actually need to raise your hand, you can let me know. So the adults and children from the same dyad should sit beside one another. And this will help you, since you may not have a very good relationship or know who they are so far, to know what child belongs to what adult, because one of our practice rounds that we did in Tennessee, the adults weren't sitting with the children that they were in a pair with, because they all knew each other really well, so it was really confusing to know what child went with what adult. So it's really important that you guys get them to sit together so that you can pair up your dyads. And then you should have your note-taking sheets printed, which I will be putting on box, and then a pen or a pencil to do your to take your notes with. Are there any questions so far? Perfect. So getting started, here's just a little diagram that we came up with that you would want to have beside you. So as you can see, it has A1 and C1, and then it would have what their names were, A2 and C2, and what their names were. Because on the sheet that I've printed, as you guys can see, just for this practice, you have the A1 through 4, because we have a smaller sample just to practice with. But you would want to be able to look at this and refer back so you would know who that A1 or C1 was as you're taking the notes. And you may want to note identifiable features so you know who's who. Like if someone's wearing a pink shirt, since you may not know their names yet, you might want to write A1 D Jones pink shirt.
Hey, Rhonda?
Yeah.
Yes, just don't.
Yes. Can you hear me? Chase?
Yeah, I lost you guys. Is anyone else lost connection?
Has anyone else lost their connection to Adobe?
Ask them to raise their hand if they can still hear you.
If you can still hear me other than Doug, raise your hand.
Good to see my connection then.
Okay. West Virginia can still hear. Chase, are you getting connected back?
I'm trying. It's just not working.
You can keep trying, and then if you can't, you can watch the recording.
We're going to go ahead and keep going, and hopefully you get connected back. But if not, this should be recording, so it'll be available for you to watch later.
All right, thank you.
Yep. Okay. Sorry, guys. It's confusing to me to decide which one if I need to talk into my phone or not. So we're going to move on to the next slide, unless anyone has questions about this one. Chase, I see that you're back in Adobe. raise your hand if you are. Perfect. Okay, awesome. Okay, so here's an example of what your note sheet will look like today. As you can see, we have the question and your participant, and then the notes and quotes that you will write down. And then during iCook, of course, you're going to have more people and dyads. So I've set it up as A1, C1 through A2. There will also be a A1 through C6. So hopefully that will correspond to your diagram that you make, and you can write names on this as well if that would be helpful to you. Basically just so that you know who's saying what. So for the notes themselves, I really want to focus on the family meals and the themes that are coming out about them. So maybe we'll see a lot about what the families are eating, what their barriers are. Maybe they don't have time. Maybe they don't know how to cook. What kind of feelings do they have associated with family meals? Maybe what kind of positive and negative experiences have they had with those family meal situations? If side conversations arise, it's not as important to write down what they're saying about that unless they are related to family meals. Hopefully this won't be an issue, but we really just want to get that information in relationship to the family meals. And I know that people are going to be talking fast, so we need you to take as detailed notes as possible, but I also realize that you can't write down word for word what everyone's saying. So just to get a clear and accurate representation of what they're saying in the best way that you can. And then if you do manage to get a quote that someone says and you think that's like, oh, that's a great thing that describes family meals, you want to go ahead and use quotation marks just so that we can have maybe some direct quotes to reference back to. And for the this doesn't necessarily apply to those of you who are live with me right now, but for those people who will be watching the recording, please don't pause the recording as you do the note taking to train yourself, because you can't pause real live conversation. So we want you to be able to go at the same speed that you might be experiencing in the actual iCook program. So does anyone have any questions so far? So the discussion questions that will be part of iCook are, what is the first thing that comes to mind when you hear the phrase family meal? Hopefully this is more of an icebreaker question, and they'll just say a couple 1 or 2 word phrases, and then they will be asked, describe what a family meal is to you. What challenges does your family have to eating together? And then hopefully we'll encourage them to talk about ways that these barriers could be overcome if other families have faced similar barriers, or maybe ways that they're trying to overcome them now. And then we're also going to ask what makes the family meal a positive experience, just to get more of an idea of what they think they maybe need to do better, or just what makes it a positive experience for them. So with that, we'll go ahead and do our first combined practice. The way this is going to work is I'm going to play the video and I will pause it. And I will pause it as we go to talk through like what I may have said or what I may have written down. This first video is very simple and straightforward. There's not a lot of back and forth conversation. It's very much just around the circle. So for this one, this would be one of those places where it would be easier to write down exactly what is being said. But still, I'll pause it and walk you guys through that as we go. And again, if you guys have any questions along the way, please feel free to raise your hand and we'll address those. Okay, so as you can see, can you guys see the mouse pointer on your computer? Okay, so the way that I took my notes and set it up was that this is A1 in the green shirt.
We don't. Yeah,
Miranda, we're just seeing a black screen. Do you mean?
That's what Tennessee said, which is odd because it should be working. Maybe when I click play, you guys will actually be able to see it. Can you see now?
Yes.
Perfect. Can you see now? Can everyone still see the picture? Okay. So here we have A1, and here we have, you can't see my mouse. Okay, green shirt is A1 from my notes. Pink shirt is A2. White VT shirt is A3. And then glasses would be A4. So that might be identifiable information that you would write down as you did this. For the training that you actually do, I will have them say their names, but until then, we'll just refer to them as A1 through 4. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and play our video. Yeah, and if you guys want to, as we play it, write down what you would write, and then after each person speaks, I'll say what I would have written down. So does everyone have their papers and pencils and ready to go? So the question was for this was, what comes to mind when you hear the phrase family meal? Oh wait, I think I have a chat. Oh, Doug said we do. Perfect. Okay, here we go.
What is the first thing that comes to mind when you hear the phrase family meal?
Rushed.
So I'll give you guys a chance to write down what you would have said, the notes you would have taken for her, which I would have just written down rushed, because that's all she said. And this may seem a little like simple right now, but it gets more complex. So I'm trying to start out with the more simple examples and then work up to the more complicated ones.
A time you can spend with your family every night.
So for her, I would have written beside A2, time to spend with your family every night, or time to spend with the family. Carolyn, are you from West Virginia? I see that it says you just heard the question, but no answer.
That's
Maine. From Maine.
No one is in, she can't hear anything.
Yeah, you just try to play the video. Try to play the video and let them see if they can hear it, and then tell them to chat if they can't.
Just play it and not pause it. Okay, I'm going to I'll go back and start over the video and not pausing it, and we'll see if you guys can hear it that way.
The phrase family meal.
Rushed.
A time where you can spend with your family every night. Eating the same thing.
Sitting around a table and catching up with each other.
Did you guys hear the video that time with the answers? Yes. Okay, if anyone didn't hear the answers to that question, raise your hand. Okay, so it looks like we're not going to be able to pause along the way, which is okay because I have the notes set. I have the PowerPoint set up so that we can go through the notes after we've watched the video. Carolyn, can you still not hear? Okay. Chase says that he keeps losing connection. So again, Chase, if you can't stay connected, hopefully you'll just be able to watch the video later on. And Carolyn now says that she is good. Okay, so we'll go on to what the notes I would have taken for this would be. So let me switch back to our PowerPoint. So as you can see, for A1, I've written down that she said rushed. And I put that in quotation marks since that was the only thing she said. And if it's just a short blip, you don't necessarily have to put those in quotation marks. I just wanted to show an example of using the quotation marks. Again, this is a very simplified example, but they will get more complicated as we go along. A2 said it was time to spend with the family. A3 said eating the same thing. And then A4 said sitting around the table and catching up with each other. So how does this compare to the notes that you had? Did anyone get anything drastically different or have any comments or questions about those? If you do, raise your hand. Dr. White, I see there's a green check mark by your name. Do you guys know what that means? Because I'm not as familiar with Adobe Connect. Okay, so I don't see, Maine got similar things. Great. Okay, well, I'm sure the green question mark will be okay. Maine said that Dr. White's not in the room currently. So we'll just move on to our next video. And again, I was planning on pausing this and walking through it with you, but since that doesn't seem to be working, I'm just going to go ahead and play the video through and let you guys take notes. Again, for my notes, I've said that A1 through 4 are the same people as they were for the previous video. If you guys need me to refresh that, I can. Again, this example is going to be a little more interactive, and they're going to be saying more things, so it may be a little bit harder to follow along the way. So just do your best, and we have a few more examples to go through throughout the training. So I'm going to go ahead and play that.
So what are some barriers that you guys have to having family meals?
Probably
Trying to see
if I can find meals such as
like a
burger recipe, things like that, to try to, I guess, make and have in the freezer for the next day and not have to worry about trying to make a meal every single day, knowing that I literally have 3 hours to get up, have my husband come home, he's tired from work, and then the 2 girls are, finished with their homework or finishing their homework, and I want to have something that I can just take out of the fridge and, cook really fast and be done with, and, and still enjoy that time with my family. Another barrier may be that my husband, he literally wants to just sit on the couch and just rest
for at least
a couple of hours before.
God, they never
Yeah. And so just kind of trying to get him up and help me out a little bit. He knows, what we're going through as a family is difficult, but, working together we can get through it. And so, I mean, these little things that, can sometimes get in the way, but.
I know the planning ahead for us, it always works when I think ahead to do it instead of making the meals in advance, but sometimes actually doing everything on Sunday so that way the week's a little bit easier doesn't happen, but it does.
I can't get it.
I can't
get it
ahead of time. There's no way on the actual day that's what they're gonna eat.
I often have that problem with my kids. I'll have something planned made ahead and they won't want to eat it that day, or they'll complain and make some excuse not to want to switch.
I know we have, one of my girls has a peanut allergy, and then one has a few different other allergies, and so actually making it to where everybody can eat the same thing is sometimes difficult along with the pickiness and
Right.
Honestly, by the time
I get home, like I'm
throwing them all
throwing them all in the car
and
and drop somebody off somewhere. Sometimes it's just passing back a burger like as you go through, and all right, we're all in the car together. I mean, does that count? At least they're eating something.
you can talk, you know,
Right.
in a space.
As long as the one doesn't puke and puke, you know, whatever.
I understand. And I know for us, like since they're so young, having a distraction there that'll kind of make them stay at the table. So I know it's probably not the best thing, but passing my phone so they can play their games and at least they're seated. But
Sometimes we like to eat, to have noise in the background. We have the TV on in the background, and that's distracting because a family meal, you know, you're supposed to be talking with your family, but then we all just end up watching the TV. Their favorite show is always on at the same time.
yeah, and then when
Okay, I see that Jade White from West Virginia said that the video was lagging and it was hard to understand what they are saying. If anyone else had that problem, can you please raise your hand? Same in Maine? Okay, it looks like several people are raising their hand.
Can break out, go to YouTube and watch them there if they're posted, but you might want to just go through and show them the examples of this, and then use the IR and see if people are this.
So it seems that a few people are having this problem. I also have them uploaded to YouTube, so we could do breakouts and you could use look at them on YouTube, or we can just go through the examples of the notes that I had down. I don't know if that would be beneficial at all since you guys were having issues hearing. So if you guys want to proceed as we're going, raise your hand, or yeah, we'll do it that way. Or if you would prefer to do YouTube, like send a message or just communicate with me one way, which way you would prefer to do it. And I already still have your hands up, so let me get rid of this. Proceed as we're going. The hand raising, okay. So we'll just keep going, and hopefully you guys can watch this and watch the recording if you need to. So let's switch back to the PowerPoint. Okay, so some of the notes that I took, I've broken these into slides by individual, and then for the next few videos that we do individually, as I had planned, they'll be in a table format. So for A1, she said that she likes to find meals or recipes to have in the freezer, that she doesn't like to make a meal every day, that she has limited time of just 3 hours to really spend with her family. She has a different schedule than her husband. She still wants to enjoy time with the family, and the husband only wants to rest, and that the family is going through difficult times. So for those of you that were able to get the audio from that video, did you have similar things written down, or do you have any questions or comments regarding this? Okay, I don't see any comments coming in or any hands being raised. Hopefully that doesn't mean that just everyone couldn't hear what we were doing. So for the second adult, I had written down that kids don't want to eat what is planned. They want noise in the background, and TV is distracting to the family meal. Again, if you guys have questions, comments, or anything different, raise your hand or leave a comment. So for A3, I have that the kids don't want to eat what is planned. The kids only want to eat fish sticks. they pass back burgers while they're in the car. And then I have in quotation marks, we're all in the car together. Does that count? And I thought that was a really good quote that she said, because from the practices that we did here, I heard that coming up a lot. And that's one of those things that those perceptions of family meals, what different people are thinking, and what is a family meal to one family that may not be to another. So to me, that was just a quote that stuck out. I don't know if it did to anyone else. And then A3 also said that kids need to be dropped off in different places, and that their favorite show was always on during the mealtime. For A4, she said that planning ahead doesn't always happen. Children have allergies, so it's difficult for everyone to eat the same thing. Pickiness is an issue, and with young kids, distractions are good, so she uses her phone. Do you have any questions or comments regarding that? So I'm going to try and show another video now. Hopefully it will work. Again, I used the same A1 through 4, and this is another simple one because the plan was that this would be your first one to do on your own. Hopefully you can hear the audio that goes along with this, and I'm going to go ahead and push play.
Describe what a family meal is to you.
What a family meal is to you.
I guess it's kind of a time
I guess
where
it's
you try to
kind of a time where you try to unwind a little bit.
You're off from work and you want to get together with the
You're off from
family,
work and you want to get together with the family, even if it may be sort of a quick, easy meal. Sometimes that's what they gotta do, and so I know personally, half the time it's just a rushed experience for me and my family, but overall, it's okay.
Well, for my family, it's
Well, for my family, it's any time during the day where we can get together and enjoy a meal, or sometimes even just a snack together. My husband works a lot, so any time that we can get in the house together is good enough for a family meal.
family meal is three kids
Family meal is three kids finally sitting down from their activities all around the table and not screaming.
For us, it's just pretty much making sure everybody gets fed. There's so many of us, and sometimes one's in another room, they're all just kind of running around, so making sure everybody gets something to eat and that it's somewhat healthy.
And it's not always together.
And it's not always together, even though we try to make it together. It's not always the case.
So how was the audio quality on that one? Better? Still bad? Okay, the audio was the same. I think we'll just keep going, and hopefully the recording is working so that if you guys need to, you can go back and watch it individually and get the practice if you need it. Okay, so for the notes that I have written down for that, for A1, I said that a family meal is time to unwind when they're off of work. They get together with family. It's a quick and easy meal. It's often a rushed experience, but it's okay. A2 said that any time during the day to enjoy a meal or even just a snack. And then anytime we can get together is good enough for a family meal. For A3, I have all kids are away from activities, sitting at the table and not screaming. For A4, I wrote down making sure everyone gets fed, a lot of us, kids in different rooms, somewhat healthy, not always together, but we try. So are there any questions or comments about those notes? Oh, okay. We'll go on to the next video.
So what
So what are some barriers that you guys have
to
to having family meals?
Probably trying to see if I can find meals such as like a burger recipe, things like that, to try to, I guess, make and have in the freezer for the next.
Sorry guys, I clicked on the wrong video for that one. Okay, so now we are back to the second individual practice video.
What challenges
What challenges does your family have to
eating
eating together?
I feel like the greatest challenge is trying to fit in to that short few hours. Planned a meal, trying to get the two girls together. My husband may have just gotten off from work, and I've tried to rest throughout the day in order to get ready for work at 11 p.m. And so it's literally trying to make that small frame of time that I have with them and make it special. And usually that's the hardest thing, but sometimes you just pray about it and you make it work.
For my family, it's everyone kind of has their own schedule. So two kids may be going to soccer and one may have something else. So sometimes family meals may have to be just two kids with one of the parents. If only I can be with some of the kids, or my husband can be with some of the others.
I get home from work around 6:30, 7 hopefully. My husband gets back a little earlier, but he probably hasn't put anything on the stove, so rushing around trying to figure out, if everybody's even home, whether or not they're gonna eat and put something together.
I think for us, it's just, I have three kids under 6, and so sometimes one's crying or running around, and so just keeping everybody seated at the table, avoiding all the fights and the tantrums, and trying to make it an enjoyable experience is sometimes a little bit difficult.
Okay. So I'll go back to the PowerPoint now to talk about the notes that I took for that video. So for the individual practice 2, for A1, I wrote down that she is trying to fit everything into a short few hours, planning the meal, getting the two girls together. The husband works at 11 p.m., making a small time frame special. You just have to make it work. For A2, I wrote down everyone has their own schedule. 2 are at soccer, 2 kids may be with one parent, or a family meal instead of just the whole family together. For A3, I wrote she gets home from work at 7. Husband gets off work earlier but hasn't put anything on the stove. Again, I used some quotation marks just to show how you can use those. They're usually rushing, finding out who is home and who is going to eat. For A4, I said that she has 3 kids under 6 and keeping everyone seated and avoiding tantrums and fights, making the experience enjoyable, is difficult. Do we have any questions or comments from those? Okay, so now we'll do, this is the last practice session that I had for you guys, and Then I have the video for you guys to watch to do the actual the coding, the training for me to analyze, and we'll talk about that a little bit before I play it. But since you are having issues with the audio, I can make sure that I get you guys the YouTube link of that so that you can watch the video maybe there and do the training now if you do that instead of trying to watch it from Adobe.
So what makes a
family meal a positive experience?
I think when everybody's in the same place at the same time.
Definitely.
Yeah. It's always a plus.
No yelling. And no yelling.
Yeah.
Everyone gets along.
No hitting.
It doesn't end with a fight.
Or timeout.
Or timeout.
Or striking.
Or striking.
Yeah.
Or complaining that
Or
they're not
complaining that
hungry.
they're not hungry.
All of those
And all of those things.
So when nobody's grumpy and everybody's in a good mood and no complaints about the food and no battles with trying to get them to eat their broccoli.
And eating at the table.
Yeah.
And not in front of the computer or the TV or
Car.
yeah. And so it's
To
hard
kind of get
to kind of get
the
the two of them away from the technology because that's what all their friends are into. All of them want to be doing after school. I mean, what's going on the latest?
What happened to
What happened to outside?
Yeah.
Goodness.
Why do you have to
Why do you have to pretend like you're boxing instead of
Go out and get all the
energy out.
and then when you're tired and you want to sit down.
They're not crawling
under
under
the table instead of away from the food?
It takes less than
It
an hour.
takes less than an hour to prepare. That's a nice meal too.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Easy and healthy and
Before 9 p.m.
yeah.
And quiet.
Okay, so to go over the notes that I have from that clip, and for those of you who could hear that clip, you may have noticed that there was some extra side conversation about going outside that wasn't necessarily directly related to family meals, but then they started talking about how if they were actually outside playing, they might exert all of their energy, so that they wanted to sit down at the table to have a meal together. So A1 said no complaining that they're not hungry, eating at the table, not in front of the computer, the TV, or the car, hard to get away from technology. Everyone gets along was A2. A3 said no yelling or hitting, doesn't end with timeout or spanking, not crawling under the table. It takes less than an hour to prepare, and if it happens before 9 p.m. A4 said everyone is in the same place at the same time, doesn't end with a fight, no one is grumpy, everyone is in a good mood, no complaints about the food, no battles to eat their broccoli, or not battling to not eat their broccoli, I guess. Not in the car. Kids are playing outside, would be tired and want to sit down, and then easy and healthy are the notes that I had written for that. So as I said, that was our last practice session. So we would be watching the video, and I'll still play it with this. But the purpose of this is just to assure that everyone is taking similar notes. And again, if you are watching this from a recording, please don't pause the video so that you can catch up with what's being said. I'm sure some of you are thinking that these notes are like impossible. People talk so fast, but that's really why we need to practice and get comfortable with that. So, because again, you can't pause the live conversation, and I said take notes in the same format you will need to use for lesson 1, so most likely by hand, which I think you guys have been doing so far. So, does anyone have questions about that? Or do you guys just have any questions in general so far? Okay, this is probably the part where you guys will have questions and comments, because this is actually getting those notes back to me, and if at all possible, it would be great if you could scan your handwritten notes and send those to me in whatever type or form of document that works for you, whether it be a PDF or some sort of image file. If that's not available to you, if you could type the handwritten notes into a document, or like the original document that I sent you, and send those to me. Basically, I just really need your notes so that I can compare them to my notes and to see where everyone stands. And then, as you can see, my email is on here, randommead@gmail.com. So does that work for everyone? Does anyone have anything that they're totally like, no, that would never work? Is that a possibility? If you guys can still hear me, can you raise your hand? Because I'm getting a little worried. Well, that's just awesome. No one raised their hand. My computer says that it's still recording, so if we have lost everyone, hopefully you guys will still be able to watch this training. Okay. So again, I'm going to play the video for the purposes of the training, so that it will be recorded within this. And then when I send out the link to this training, I will include the YouTube videos and send those out to you guys just in case it doesn't work. So I'm going to go ahead and play those videos and let you guys take the notes if you can by some chance still hear me. And here we go. So again, I said that I was going to share the one where they say their name. So I'll play that video first so that you can act as if this is the real thing. You would write down their names and you would be able to say who your A1 through 4 is. And also you will see that on your forms you have the questions written, so you can flip through them by question. Does that make sense to everyone? Okay. And before I start playing this, when you guys send me your versions of the notes, I don't need your practice notes, but I do need the questions that say, the forms that say intercoder reliability training, and then the questions are written out. What comes to mind when you hear family meal? What is the family meal to you? What barriers do you face to having family meals? And then what is an ideal family meal to you? So I will need all 4 of those sent to me. And also, I know that I've taken pictures with my phone before of written documents, and that seems to work pretty good sometimes. So that's also an option, just as long as you get me those notes.
Okay, my name is Julia. I have 2 daughters, ages 10 and 7.
My name's
My name's Anna, and I have 4 kids. I have 3 daughters and 1 son, and they're all under the age of 10.
My name is Abby. Work full time, and I have a set of twins that are 10 and a 7-year-old.
I have 4 kids, 3 under the age of 6, 2 6-month-old twin boys, 4-year-old, and then I also have a 9-year-old.
And your name?
And I'm Emma.
Okay, now we'll do the video for the actual conversation of the discussion.
So what's the first thing that comes to mind when you hear
family meal?
Sitting around a table, talking.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Maybe sort of a quick rush into the kitchen to pull something out of the cabinet to slap on the stove.
Yeah.
I hear delivery man and
Just being together, no matter if it's McDonald's or Pizza Hut or, at home sometimes, but
Yeah.
Just getting everyone in the same location to have a meal.
mm-hmm.
just getting the food there, getting the people there, and being done.
So what are your family
meals like, and what is a family meal to you?
Ours are pretty primitive. There's a lot of us, and so it's usually a lot of screaming or somebody's leaving, and so you've got to change the time around or just kind of all over the place.
And you got young ones too.
Yeah.
I remember little. 2 girls.
So, having the baby food and then grill food and then peanut-free food and a million different things.
Bless
And,
your heart.
it's just easier just to buy something that everybody likes and go through a drive-through and pick out everything.
Burgers down the row.
Yeah, just pick it out themselves.
Those microwave meals are bad
That's
a big
Those have saved my family too many times in the worst situations. Having to rest during the day and then get up for work at 11 o'clock at night. It's nearly impossible with a husband who works the opposite schedule that I do, coming out of work at 5 o'clock. And so you can tell, we've got to try to work things out, and sometimes it just doesn't happen.
And I know Marie Calendar, she's
to burn anything.
just got the label, read it, it's done.
Stick it in the oven and be done.
Yeah.
I think he burns it on purpose so he won't.
He knows what he's doing.
So you guys have already
touched on these a little bit, but what are some barriers that your family faces?
Could you
expand on those, or maybe some ways that you could even overcome those?
My girls are in the excited about technology, coming out of school. They don't want to sit down and do homework, let alone sit down to a kitchen table to eat.
And talk to me.
Unless there's a game rolling.
Right. And so I think the biggest barrier is just trying to get my whole family on the mindset that we need to start trying to have a family dinner. It's nearly impossible with our schedule as it is, and then trying to get that push from the shove that they give. I love my family, but it's hard when you have a husband that comes home and first thing he wants to do is sleep on the couch, when he knows that I need that support.
And especially with the different schedules, it's probably so hard to be on the same page. And
Nobody ever wants to do the
Nobody
same
wants to do the
activity.
same
They all have
activity.
their
They all
own.
have their
They all have
own.
they all have to
practice
practice
at
at different times
And
and
on the other
on the other side of
okay, they all be on the
Okay,
same
they all be on the same time.
If they're just all
If they're just all the same age.
Lots of
And then the kids not
And then
wanting
the
to
kids
eat
not
what you
wanting to
make.
eat what you make, that's probably the biggest blow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just like go get
Oh, I
your
know.
Oh, I know.
They plan ahead, they don't want it then. And
planning ahead, it's always it's a good idea, and then we try to do it, but sometimes it just doesn't happen.
It's impossible to be that organized.
Well, who knows when the food
who knows when the food
preference
preference is gonna change? This
Right.
one eats,
Tuna only.
tuna
Yeah.
only. It's tuna.
Fortunately, my family likes hamburger.
That's a go-to.
So that's a go-to. It's not too difficult for me. So
It's a crowd pleaser.
yes.
Do you have a lot of
Chicken helper.
Oh yeah.
Hamburger.
And we try to eat healthy, but there's 6 of us, and sometimes it just gets so expensive buying all the produce and all this, and sometimes, you know, the frozen dinners are on sale, or hamburger helpers on sale. It feeds a lot more for a lot less.
And
When's the last time you
got to go to a restaurant that actually
had a menu?
had a menu?
Walk up and
There's a clown.
If there's a clown,
then
then
they're good. Before I had
Before I had it. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
And I'm a stay-at-home mom, so the only income we have is my husband's from work, and so trying to get healthy foods on the table for them is not always easy. So just sometimes, like you were saying, freezer meals.
yeah, and sometimes knowing what's healthy. Every label is something different. And
Right.
I just get so frustrated that it just works for a week and then just give it up. Yeah, it's hard.
So what makes a
So what
family
makes a family meal a
experience?
positive experience?
You know, when you can be proud of what you put on the table, and everybody likes it, and there's no complaints, and nobody's grouchy, or
The TV's off.
the TV's off.
I already know that.
It's a good Wednesday night.
Oh
When it
man.
happens, it's good.
Girl can do it.
Just for everyone to be in the same
area.
no matter the time of day, whether it's dinner or breakfast. It's just
Sometimes just before
before we get them out the door to go to school, it's just the time that we have as a family.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So just whenever, wherever, just being together.
Time I feel like is so much more valuable now,
Yeah.
and so much more precious, and it's hard to get with.
Yeah. Before you had kids, you thought you were so busy. It's like, no.
Okay, so I see that we only actually have 3 participants left, and 2 of them are in Tennessee. So Jade from West Virginia, if you can still hear me, will you raise your hand? Okay, so I don't think there's actually anyone else on this, but as my note takers here in Tennessee were going, I realized that the last question on the intercoder reliability training, it actually had the wrong question. So if any of you have your document already printed out, if you could mark out the question, what is an ideal family experience to you, and make that what makes a family meal a positive experience. So just a slightly different wording there. So since we don't have anyone to ask questions, for those of you who are watching this recorded, if you do have any questions, feel free to email me, and I'll go back to the PowerPoint so that my email address is showing. Just email me any questions that you may have. I don't have notes to discuss from that video with you, mainly because I want to compare what you've said to my notes, and then I'll let you know how everything goes. So I'm going to end the recording at this point, and hopefully it will all work out and I can share it with you guys, and we just have to roll with the punches and deal with the technology as it comes to us. So I am going